what's healing, and why it is important in a journey to self. Hi everyone, and welcome to my YouTube channel. This is Kevlan, and in today's video I want to talk about the process of healing. To me, healing is the most critical piece of the puzzle when in the process of becoming your greatest version. So I wanted to spend some time today to share my perspective, share my experiences, as well as my insight as to what I mean by healing and what is the process of healing. So to me, when I look at the process of healing, I see it as related to, maybe I should take a step back. So if you remember in my previous video, I mentioned a few times that we have a physical self, but also we have an energy self that is vibrating at a frequency outside of the visible light spectrum, so we don't see it. However, in the energy self, we have a lot of information about us that is stored on the different layers of this energy self. So for example, we have the emotional layer of the energy self where all feelings are stored, or the information about our feelings is stored. We have a mental layer of the energy self where all our thoughts and our subconscious program are stored. And then we have more subtle layers of the energy self that I call the spiritual layers of the energy self, where we have other information about past lives and about our gifts and our greatest fear that are stored also in this part of the energy self. So to me, the process of healing is really about changing the information that is stored, the information about us that is stored in the invincible part of what we are, so in the energy self, that is preventing us from becoming our greatest version. So healing is really letting go, is really removing what doesn't serve us anymore, is really changing the information about us that is preventing us from becoming a greatest version or attracting what we want in our life. So that's really what it means to me, the process of healing. So now if I just look at the different type of healing associated with the different layers of our energy body, and if I start with the most subtle part of the energy body, the spiritual layers, in this layer, typically we have information about our past lives, our gifts. So for example, just to give you an example so that it will make more sense, there is some people that comes on this planet, kids, and they have never learned the skills, and nonetheless they are very good at it. In history, I'm sure you will agree with me that there were people that had some talents or gifts to play piano, for example, or to paint, to draw, to speak, whatever it was, or in mathematics, whatever it was, they were very talented, even though they never learned the skills. It's just because this is something they've developed life after life, and this information about themselves is stored in the spiritual layer of the energy body. So you keep this information as you go through the reincarnation cycle. In these subtle layers of the energy self, we don't only have the gifts and talents that we keep with us. We also have our greatest fear, and sometimes, for whatever reason, which is out of reason, I should say, we are afraid of water, or we are afraid of certain things, certain events, certain circumstances, but we don't really know why. And this is something that, what we lived in previous life is also stored in this subtle layer of the energy self, and we keep it life after life. So if it was something very traumatic, something very scary, then we can keep this information with us as we move on to the next life. So healing starts there to me. And that's, I would say, the deeper part of what we are, and that's deeper healing. But and I call it shadow work. I know some people will just say shadow work about other type of healing, but to me the shadow work is really going as deep as possible into what we are as a person and really trying to change the information about us that are stored in very subtle layers of the energy self. I will talk in future videos on the different modalities on how to access this information and how to change it so that we can release it and change and attract what we want, or change this information in very subtle layers. But for now, I want to move on to the other type of feelings in the different layers. So that's really the spiritual healing, or healing the information stored in the spiritual layer of the energy self. I call that the shadow work, is really facing our past. And when I say our past, it's not necessarily the past in this current life. It's really facing our past from past life, but also the ancestral fears that we got and that were transferred to us. So that's really what I call the shadow part, the shadow healing, the shadow work, where we have to go deep into ourselves, into our lineage, into our ancestors, and really change the information about what we are today. Another type, or another, what I mean by healing is, if we go down a little bit into the energy self, we had the spiritual layers, and then we have the mental layer. The mental layer is where we have stored all the thoughts about us, the subconscious program, the program that we have that make us think a certain way or behave a certain way. So healing also means changing and accessing the mental layer of the energy self and starting to change the program, or the subconscious program, that are running in the background of our consciousness. And typically those programs are acquired during the first 7 years of our life, and as a kid, as we start observing our parents, observing the world around us, society, or we start going to school or interacting with the world and the parents and so on and so forth. So we start to acquire some programs. In the first 7 years, the kids does not have the analytical mind fully developed, so basically every information that they will be able to see or they will be able to observe will just go directly in their subconscious mind, and then it will just become a program. So you can have good program where you say you want to empower your kid, or you want to make your kid limitless, or really expand their mindset. But you can also have contract the mindset where you're gonna say to your kids certain things. For example, boys don't cry. This is what society promotes, is boys don't cry. So when you're 5-6 years old and you're a little boy, and your parents or your dad say boys don't cry, and then you're gonna keep this program in subconscious mind, and as you will be an adult, you will have a hard time to show your emotion. You will have a hard time to become or to cry, just because you have these programs coming from your childhood that say boys don't cry. So really healing that part is really going to access the subconscious program that we have acquired during the 7 years of our life, and start changing the information and reprogramming our mind to become our greatest version, or to start attracting or consciously creating what we want in our life. Another healing will be going even denser in the energy self, is the emotional layer. We all have a lot of emotions, and a lot of time, and especially again when we're kids and even later in life, we have a tendency to suppress them. Sometimes when we feel anger, when we feel sadness, when we feel certain lower frequency emotion, we will think that they're not good, so we want to dissociate ourselves from those, what we are feeling, and as a result we are suppressing them. All the emotions that we feel are valid, all of them, whether they are high frequency emotions such as love, compassion, gratitude, or lower frequency emotions such as anger, sadness, depression or guilt or shame, or all this type of emotion. They're all valid. They all giving us a message about what we need to change or what we need to address. So one aspect of healing is really being able to observe the emotion that are stuck in our emotional body, and being able to address, release them, feel them, and release them once and for all. And believe me, we all have experiences from the past, whether we were kids or later in life, where we went through very hardship and we had a tendency to suppress those emotions instead of feeling them because it was difficult, it's hurtful, it's challenging. But an emotion is meant to be felt, is not meant to be suppressed or repressed. So healing it means also going and accessing the emotional body, the emotional layer, and starting to release and feeling those emotions so that they can be released once and for all into into the ether. Obviously, another part of healing, which is the most popular and the most obvious, is the physical self, the physical healing, and going through, whether it's detox or going through, changing what we eat, changing what we drink, changing what we listen to, like changing our lifestyle is really, this is what really means, like healing is really changing our lifestyle and the physical, so that we can address the physical ailments that we have. By my experience is 80 to 90% of our symptoms, the pains that we may have, sometimes the disease are really, there is a big emotional mental emotional component associated with it. So as we start healing and releasing those subconscious programs, or releasing those emotion that were suppressed for years and years and years, or even accessing the subtle layers of energy self, and releasing or cutting the bonds we have with our ancestors and the fears that we or the trauma that we have experienced in past lives, little by little we're gonna also heal our physical self. Remember when I mentioned in my previous video, all those layers of what we are really superimposed into one another. So as we address and start to release or changing the information in one layer, it's going to cascade down and obviously affect the more dense layer as a result. So really, healing to me is the most critical piece. It's probably the most difficult part of the journey, part of the process, because healing is not something where we experience bliss. Healing is painful. Healing means facing our traumas, means facing those challenging emotions. Healing means changing our limiting belief, limiting thought patterns that we have. It means accessing or facing the trauma that we have experienced in past lives, or that were transferred to us from our ancestors. So healing is very painful. But healing is the most rewarding part of the puzzle, the most rewarding part of the process, because the more we heal, the more we reconnect to who we are, and the more we can start consciously co-creating our life and attracting what we want in our life. If you want to know more about this topic, there is an entire chapter where I talk about healing, and I go more in details as to the different type of healings and modalities, as well as the different type of healing that I kind of explain from a high level in this video. Please check out my book on Amazon, The Science of Breaking Free. I left the link down below in comments. Also, if you want to know more about this topic in general, I will be making more videos regarding healing and be more practical on what I've done in my life, or what I've experienced, or what modalities have helped me in my journey to self, or to become my greatest version. So I will be making more video in that topic in the future. So if you want to know more about that, I invite you to subscribe to my channel using the button down below in comments. Like the video, share the video with your friend and family, and for now, I'll see you next time.